plus more stories about arrests made connected to this service. The dark web is notorious for its mysterious and often dangerous activities, with stories of arrests, site takedowns, and elaborate scams regularly making headlines. While many have heard of notorious darknet marketplaces like Silk Road, today's focus is on a different kind of site that claim to offer Hitman services. You might have heard rumors that you can hire a hitman through the dark web. While these sites exist, they are almost always scams. Despite the claims, no legitimate hitman service has ever been proven to exist on the dark web. However, one particular site, Besa Mafia, stands out with a dramatic story. It began with grand promises, gained some notoriety, and eventually met a disastrous end that spilled over into the real world. This is the true story of Besa Mafia. To understand Besa Mafia, we need to go back to February 2016. During this time, a series of blog posts began appearing on the surface web, mentioning Besa Mafia and sharing its onion link. Unlike the Silk Road, where posts casually introduced the site, these blog posts were outspoken protests against Besa Mafia, calling for its shutdown. Initially overlooked, these posts later became crucial in shaping the site's reputation. Building credibility is key in any business, even in the dark web's underworld. Besa Mafia needed to establish itself as a legitimate service, despite its lack of a real track record. The early blog posts that surfaced on the internet linked to another blog, fightingbesamafia.blogspot.com, which outlined supposed dark web activities and urged law enforcement to take action against the site. These posts aimed to expose Besa Mafia, yet ironically, they played a significant role in its rise to infamy. When you first encountered the Trailhead blog associated with Besa Mafia, the initial post claimed they were deliberately avoiding linking to the website to prevent promoting it. However, if you explored the numerous other blogs that emerged around that time, you'd quickly notice how easy it was to find the onion link. This was a deliberate marketing strategy for a dark web platform, despite the misleading claims of the authors. Anyone researching Besa Mafia back then would have come across an elaborate tale about the Albanian mafia allegedly running the site, with stories of countless victims who had supposedly fallen for this new way of hiring hitmen online. These articles often pretended to criticize Besa Mafia while subtly endorsing it and lending it an air of authenticity. At the time, if someone investigated Besa Mafia, they would come across an elaborate and fabricated story, claiming that the Albanian mafia was behind the site, with numerous people purportedly falling victim to its hitman services. Many of these articles, while ostensibly condemning Besa Mafia, actually served to promote it and endorse its credibility. This approach to content marketing was quite unusual, using a tactic that distanced the creators from the scam while simultaneously instructing readers on how to use the site for illicit purposes. Scams are rampant on the dark web, with almost every onion link attempting to defraud users, and hitman schemes are no exception. What set Besa Mafia apart was its remarkable marketing strategy. Early in 2016, the site boasted a flurry of positive reviews, which seemed suspiciously flawless. The reason behind these glowing reviews can be traced to search engine manipulation. The website's owner, known as Yura, employed freelance writers to flood Google searches with positive content about Besa Mafia. If you're not familiar with such freelance services, think of platforms like Fiverr, where you can hire people for various tasks at low costs. Yura utilized a large number of inexpensive freelancers to write and distribute blog posts, which dominated Google search results, Reddit discussions, and even Quora threads. This deliberate shaping of public opinion gave rise to the belief that Besa Mafia was a legitimate hitman service. A simple Google search at the time would reveal numerous positive reviews. with some even claiming to have used the service to commit arson. Although it's surprising that such tactics were effective, a closer look reveals that these testimonials were fabricated. It's unrealistic to expect people to openly review a service for criminal activities on the surface web. Yet the sheer volume of fake reviews created a false sense of legitimacy. This case illustrates how, with enough fabricated social proof, a scam can appear credible to unsuspecting individuals. The proliferation of posts claiming, yes, Besa Mafia is real flooded Google search results in various platforms, fueling further speculation and spreading the rumor. This phenomenon illustrates how easily common sense can be overshadowed by social proof. However, the story doesn't end there. The intrigue surrounding the site attracted attention and prompted an investigation into its true nature. Enter Chris Montero, a systems administrator by day and a cybercrime investigator by night. Chris dedicates his research to uncovering the truth about dark web activities, often debunking fraudulent schemes. His findings are shared on his blog, pirate.london, and various online encyclopedias. On February 20th, 2016, an anonymous user edited the Rational Wiki page on internet assassination to falsely claim that Besa Mafia was the only legitimate Hitman site. Although this edit was quickly reversed, the same user made another revision shortly after, revealing clear intent to promote Besa Mafia. This blatant vandalism piqued Chris's interest, leading him to delve deeper into the site. Chris's investigation culminated in a blog post where he exposed Besa Mafia as a scam. He noted, "If it weren't for this terrible advice, I might have considered the site an effective fake. But come on, no tumbling." To clarify, Bitcoin tumblers are services that obscure the path of Bitcoin transactions, making them hard to trace. Chris argued that the absence of such tumbling services indicated the site was a fraud. Additionally, he pointed out suspicious activity on Reddit, where newly created accounts were disproportionately endorsing Besa Mafia, further suggesting manipulation. This investigation by Chris Montero played a crucial role in shedding light on the deceptive practices behind Besa Mafia, revealing how intricate scams can mislead the public and ultimately face exposure. Weeks after the file dump was made public, it became evident that Besa Mafia was meticulously managing its online reputation. They actively created numerous reviews to shape their image. Soon after, Chris Montero received an intriguing email. "Hello, I'm an admin for Besa Mafia, a deep website. I came across your blog, pirate.london. Could we arrange for a genuine positive review from you? Our platform is a marketplace with numerous registered gang members, unlike other Hitman services with just a single team. Let us prove our legitimacy to you. P.S. We don't use PGP keys unless requested." Chris later published the entire email exchange on his blog in a detailed interview, which I'll link to as it's too extensive to cover fully here. During this exchange, Yura, the site's admin, made several notable offers. Yura proposed paying for an advertisement on Chris's blog and suggested a monthly payment to ensure neutrality towards their site, which Chris declined. Yura also offered to have someone beaten up, a suggestion Chris firmly rejected. Toward the end of the correspondence, Yura issued a threatening message. "Proceed as you wish, but if you claim our service is a fraud, we will accuse you of being an undercover agent trying to mislead deep web users." It would be wise to stay neutral about our site until we receive complaints or positive feedback from our users. In summary, Yura's attempts to manipulate Chris failed when Chris remained steadfast in his belief that Besa Mafia was a scam. This exchange remained relatively quiet until April 10, 2016, when a comment on Chris's blog included a link to a disturbing video. The video showed a car burning, an act of real crime connected to Besa Mafia, specifically targeting Chris. This wasn't an isolated incident. Besa Mafia had several similar videos online, including one dedicated to Chris and others aimed at Pinochet and Fox, who were admins of Hidden Answers, and had also exposed Besa Mafia as fraudulent. Typically, scammers just ignore criticism and move on. But Besa Mafia took a different approach, involving vehicle theft and arson against critics. This unusual behavior raises questions about their motives. We didn't have to wait long to uncover what was really happening with Besa Mafia. Many dark websites are vulnerable due to poor security practices, which often leaves them open to hacking. Besa Mafia was no exception. After being threatened by the site, Chris Montero first reported the threats to the authorities. But since the crime was outside the UK's jurisdiction, the police couldn't intervene. This led Chris to take matters into his own hands. He reached out to a colleague known as Judge Judy, and together, they exploited a security flaw to gather all communications from Besa Mafia. What they discovered was alarming. It confirmed what was suspected. Besa Mafia was indeed a scam. However, the discovery of a genuine hit list among the site's data was shocking. Unlike typical tech support scams, where the scammer is the villain, Besa Mafia's case was different. They were deceiving people who wanted to commit real crimes. Customers believed in the legitimacy of Besa Mafia and paid significant amounts of money, expecting real murders to be carried out. This raises a chilling question. If the scam had been exposed, would these desperate individuals resort to violence themselves? We'll explore this aspect further soon. Chris discovered a disturbing array of requests from individuals willing to pay for heinous acts. Among these, the car burnings were found to be a tactic used by Besa Mafia to bolster its reputation. An additional layer to the scam was the opportunity for users to sign up as hitmen. One such individual, THC John 2, was manipulated by Yura into creating an audition tape where he set a car on fire. John ended up participating in several staged videos and received only $300 for his efforts, revealing Yura's deceit even towards his own recruits. Chris, after quietly hacking the site, tried to involve authorities but faced significant obstacles. Reports indicate that the Met referred him to the NCA, who didn't respond, and the NCTSO claimed it was outside their jurisdiction. The FBI suggested contacting the NCA, leading to a frustrating cycle of ineffectual responses. As Chris grappled with these challenges, a new and unexpected development occurred. Before we continue, I would like to remind you that if you would like to support this channel, please join our membership program. The link is in the description. Or you can also support by liking and sharing this video. And don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on future videos. While Chris kept his hacking efforts discreet to avoid alerting potential criminals, another hacker, VRPSD, exploited a similar vulnerability and publicly released all of Besa Mafia's message and server files. This massive data dump was split into two segments. One remains fully accessible, while the other is scattered across the internet. The first segment revealed user account information and the site's hacking timeline. Notably, Yura's password was exposed, adding a poetic twist to the breach. The second segment included a files.fm link containing 2 CSV files with details of 38 hit orders, 2,682 messages, target photos, phone numbers, and other information. Besa Mafia had accumulated approximately $65,000 in Bitcoin within just 2 months. Among the disturbing revelations, one name stood out: Dog Day God. This account's messages are particularly chilling, and I'll be reviewing some of these unsettling details shortly. As news of the data dump spread, Yura attempted to discredit it, flooding the internet with spam posts claiming it was fake. However, the authenticity of the dump was confirmed. The Daily Star reported a Turkish client requesting the capture and torture of his ex-partner, who had left him for someone else. Another client wanted his wife's lover killed, her organs sold, and her smuggling into Saudi Arabia. A Dutch user paid 20 Bitcoin for a staged cycling accident to eliminate someone, while a Minnesotan had spent months discussing the murder of a mother. Additionally, a client ordered a hit on a woman driving a white Nissan, specifying a detailed plan involving a stolen truck to make it appear as a drunken accident. The requests found on Besa Mafia were deeply unsettling, with the exception of one user who inquired about the cost of altering academic grades. This file dump was a public relations disaster for a site that had meticulously crafted a fake reputation. Several weeks following the release of this data, an article by Eileen Ormsby appeared on allthingsvice.com. Eileen Ormsby, an Australian journalist with extensive experience in covering dark web topics, wrote about the ongoing saga. Her detailed coverage, which includes insights from her book, sheds light on her extensive and contentious interactions with Yura, the administrator of Besa Mafia. Throughout her reporting, Ormsby faced numerous threats, but remained steadfast. In retaliation, Yura launched a campaign to discredit both Ormsby and Chris Montero, falsely claiming they were the actual owners of Besa Mafia. Despite these attacks, Ormsby continued her correspondence with Yura over the years, which provided further insight into the ongoing drama. Meanwhile, Chris Montero and his colleague Judge Judy conducted a decisive hack in July 2016. This final breach allowed them to access Yura's Gmail account and obtain cryptographic keys that controlled the Besa Mafia domain. Consequently, the site's homepage was altered, disrupting its operations temporarily. However, another dark element of the story was beginning to unfold. One notable figure from the file dump was an individual using the moniker Dog Day God. This user initially appeared on a now-banned subreddit, Darknet Markets Noobs, on Valentine's Day 2016. Dog Day God inquired about distinguishing law enforcement from genuine sellers on dark web markets. Although the original post and responses are no longer available, Dog Day God's account was created the following day, and his subsequent messages reveal a troubling pattern. The file dump included an 80-page PDF of messages sent by Dog Day God. While much of it is mundane, key messages reveal a particularly dark and disturbing mindset. In his initial message, Dog Day God sought advice on how to covertly convert $5,000 into Bitcoin, expressing concern that withdrawing such a large sum in cash could draw attention. He wanted to know if there was a way to make it appear as though he was purchasing something tangible with the money, rather than using it to fund a hit. to avoid raising suspicion. Yura responded on the same day, suggesting that Dog Day God use platforms like Coinbase and local bitcoins for the exchange. He proposed that Dog Day God claim the funds were used to buy a gaming server and offered access to a money laundering server to support this story. Yura assured that this method would make the transaction look like a legitimate investment in online games, thereby protecting Dog Day God's anonymity. Later that day, Dog Day God replied, noting that the target would be traveling from Moline, Illinois in March, but mentioned that this location was quite a distance from Chicago. He inquired whether this would be a suitable time for the hit and asked for the cost in Bitcoin, as well as details on how to make it look like an accident. In his next response, Yura provided various options for carrying out the hit and quoted different prices. Dog Day God indicated that he preferred a hit-and-run scenario, believing it would be the simplest way to stage an accident. He requested to set aside 15 Bitcoin for the job, confirming that he was in the process of exchanging and tumbling his coins. In the subsequent exchanges, Dog Day God requested the use of a third-party escrow service beyond Besa Mafia, reflecting his concerns about potential fraud. Yura reassured him that Besa Mafia would serve as the intermediary. After a series of discussions, Dog Day God sent a message on March 6, 2016, with the subject Trust. He conveyed that he had researched Besa Mafia and found positive reports about their legitimacy. Emphasizing the importance of trust, he urged Yura not to betray it, revealing his need to have someone eliminated for personal reasons and requesting assistance. Yura responded, confirming that Besa Mafia upholds trust and does not fail its customers. He noted the 15.5 Bitcoin Dog Day God had added to his account and instructed him to place the order by selecting the appropriate button and providing the necessary details. Yura assured that a capable hitman would be arranged and advised Dog Day God to be out of town on the day of the hit to avoid suspicion. He recommended that Dog Day God stay in a different city, where he could be seen on public cameras, like in a library or shopping mall, to create an alibi. Yura also suggested using privacy software to protect Dog Day God's computer and ensure no trace of involvement. At this stage, Dog Day God submitted a request via the website's online form, specifying Amy Allwine as the target. He detailed her location at La Quinta in Moline Airport, Illinois, her physical description, and the vehicle she drove, a dark green Toyota Sienna minivan. He conveyed his strong desire for her elimination, citing personal vendettas, and offered 13 bitcoins for the hit. He indicated that if the killing could be staged to appear as an accident, he would provide additional payment. Yura acknowledged the order, outlining the plan. He informed Dog Day God that the assigned hitman would carry out the job between the night of March 19th and 20th. The hitman was to wait at the airport, follow Amy in a stolen car, and stage an accident to ensure her death. Yura also mentioned that the hitman would carry a gun as a backup if the accident did not result in death. He inquired whether Amy would be alone or accompanied, advising that it would be beneficial to know if she had a companion, as they could also be harmed if necessary. Yura asked for clarification to avoid any unintended casualties of people Dog Day God might regret harming. Dog Day God responded the same day, stating that Amy would be driving from Minneapolis through Cedar Rapids to Moline and would be accompanied by someone, though no one he cared about. Throughout March, Yura and Dog Day God continued their correspondence, with Yura repeatedly providing excuses and attempting to extract more funds from Dog Day God by suggesting improved methods for the job. On March 31st, Dog Day God expressed his frustration over the delays, noting that the hit had not occurred on the previously agreed dates. He reiterated the personal and business turmoil Amy had caused him, and his growing concern about being suspected if he continued asking questions. Dog Day. God mentioned his preference for the hit to be executed by any effective means, including a robbery and fire if necessary, and set a deadline of May 1st for the job to be completed. He clarified that if the hit was not done by then, he would expect a refund. He also requested that only Amy be targeted, excluding her child and any other relatives, and provided details about Amy's upcoming trip to Atlanta and some potential clues about her home. Dog Day. God continued to provide details about his target up until May 18, 2016. On that date, he sent a message expressing his dissatisfaction. He indicated that he had requested a refund due to the failure to carry out the hit. He expressed disappointment with the performance of the organization and its contractors, stating that he had expected better results. Dog Day. God mentioned that he might consider reaching out again if he had more funds available, but needed the refund to support his business. He conveyed his hope that the situation hadn't negatively impacted his business due to the target being still alive. Although there was some additional back and forth, Ura's final communication with Dog Day God involved a threat to report the messages to law enforcement if Dog Day God did not send more Bitcoin. Over 3 months, Dog Day God had paid approximately $13,000 for the hit, but did not receive a refund. Despite Beza Mafia being hacked in late April, Dog Day God continued his communications through May. After the site shut down in July, there was little news about these messages until November 13, 2016, when a disturbing emergency call was made. The call began with a frantic report. "I think my wife shot herself. There's blood everywhere. She had a gun. It looks... I don't know. I just saw her in blood." The dispatcher asked if the caller could see his wife, to which he replied he was with his son and did not know her condition. He was instructed to check on her, but when he returned, he could not confirm her breathing or the location of her injuries. The caller then mentioned the presence of other weapons in the house and was asked if he and his son could step outside for the officers to arrive. The woman targeted by Dog Day God was Amy Allwine, and this call was reporting her apparent suicide. Amy, who owned a dog training business and was married to Stephen Allwine, was a prominent figure in the United Church of God with her husband and adopted son. The name Dog Day God began to make sense in this context. Authorities had informed Amy by late May 2016 about the hit placed on her following the public file dump. Although they advised enhanced home security, it seemed the messages were not thoroughly investigated. Contrary to Dog Day God's claims, Amy had not had an affair, and her close friends did not provide Ura with detailed location information. As the investigation progressed, luminol tests revealed blood throughout the house, suggesting that Amy's death was not a suicide, but a murder orchestrated by the person who ordered the hit. It was uncovered that Stephen Allwine, the true identity behind Dog Day God, had staged his wife's death. Stephen, an IT specialist, used an anesthetic purchased from the dark web to frame the suicide, while he was actually having an affair through Ashley Madison. As leaders in their church, a divorce would have severely damaged his reputation in their small town of Cottage Grove. Stephen's motivation for repeatedly investing so heavily in the hit stemmed from his intent to collect a $700,000 life insurance policy. He envisioned replacing his wife of 20 years with a new spouse and securing a substantial financial gain. By January 2017, Chris had successfully established a connection with an operative from the National Crime Agency, NCA, through a mutual contact. He was set to present his findings about Besa Mafia in a confidential meeting. At this time, Yura had transitioned to a new platform named Crime Bay, where Chris used the same exploit to gather additional messages, continuing his investigation. During the meeting with the NCA, Chris detailed the operations of Besa Mafia and provided a ranking of its most dangerous users, including Dog Day God, who was among the top 10. Although the NCA had limited time, they agreed to gather further user data and promised to follow up. Less than 2 days after this meeting, on January 20th, Chris sent an email to Eileen Ormsby with the subject line, "Break regarding Stephen." Both Chris and Eileen immediately recognized the name Dog Day God. This email revealed significant progress, highlighting how Chris's prior warnings had not been adequately addressed and illustrating the slow response of the authorities. Before Amy Allwine's case, this was the first known instance of someone taking such drastic action into their own hands. Chris had previously alerted his NCA contact about Amy Allwine, and once again, the response had been that the matter was under investigation, leaving Chris waiting for further action. One quiet Friday night in early February, Chris was at home in his London apartment when his front door was forcibly broken open, and he was arrested. His devices were seized, and he was informed that he was being held on charges of incitement to murder related to Besa Mafia. Earlier, Yura had posted online claims that Eileen and Chris were partial owners of Besa Mafia, a false accusation that came back to haunt him nearly a year later. With renewed interest in the case following Stephen Allwine's conviction, authorities scrutinized Besa Mafia in the UK, leading to this misunderstanding. During his 2 days in custody, Chris had to clarify that Yura was not his accomplice, but his adversary. He ultimately managed to clear up the confusion once the investigation caught up with the details of the case. In May 2017, a seizure notice appeared on the Crime Bay website, signaling the beginning of arrests related to the platform's users. One individual who had attempted to hire someone to kill his financial advisor but failed to pay was later acquitted. In contrast, an Italian woman received a 6-year sentence for arranging a hit on her ex-boyfriend. Chris initially believed Yura had been arrested as well, but this was not confirmed until he reached out to both Eileen and Yura via email later that year. Soon after, CBS approached Chris and Eileen for a segment on Amy Allwine. In this 48-hour special, they reported ongoing murder-for-hire schemes to local authorities, which resulted in several arrests. During this period, Yura launched a new site called Cosa Nostra, which, like before, had a similar vulnerability. Yura even appeared on this new platform, attempting to use it to legitimize his operations. He provided CBS with targets for investigation, which led to further arrests. Despite the progress with CBS, the NCA continued to treat these cases with limited urgency. Chris, who had been reporting these plots, faced legal challenges due to the Computer Misuse Act of 1990 in the UK, which restricted the use of white hat hacking. This forced him to navigate a legal gray area while managing a global list of hit orders, which he forwarded to local authorities and journalists. Since the Besa Mafia incident, Chris has continued his work by scraping other Hitman sites. To date, he has submitted 283 individual plot reports, with only 9 arrests made and many countries not even initiating investigations. For those with connections to law enforcement or investigative journalists interested in these cases, Chris can be reached through his blog, Pirate London. Despite the ongoing efforts to address these issues, the cycle continues. People persist in ordering hits on the dark web, much like tech support scams that still deceive many. While my focus isn't necessarily on scam awareness, it's crucial that law enforcement investigates these plots thoroughly. My aim is to bridge the gap and assist Chris in connecting with the right people to handle these cases effectively. As the situation stands, Chris remains active in submitting plot reports, and Yura continues to operate new sites. Though Yura has shifted from initial threats to being more cooperative with Eileen, he still provides her with target information. It's likely that individuals will keep setting up Hitman sites, so if Yura is still forwarding these targets, it's important he continues to do so. If you would like to support this channel, please join our membership program. The link is in the description. Or you can also support by liking and sharing this video, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on future videos. This is the Legendary Gamer. Thanks for watching.